Hi, today I wanted to talk about work at home mom schedules. So, this is a question I get sometimes, and people are really curious like, what's your schedule? How do you work from home? How do you do it? A lot of times people are like, how do you find the motivation? How do you work with family and being at home? Right. So, I know there are people who can follow like a really tight schedule, and there's like posts out there about time blocking, and people love their to-do lists and all of these things. I was watching a video fairly recently by a friend of mine, and he was saying, if there's someone out there who works without having a schedule, let me know, and does it successfully. And this is something I do. So my work at home mom schedule is kind of an anti-schedule. Like, I do somewhat have a schedule, if you want to call it that, and it absolutely caters around and works around my daughter's life because she is a priority. She's 9 years old. I have a daughter and a son. My son is 21. He's moved out. He's out on his own, and I started my business when he was 4 months old. My daughter is 9, and so what I'm doing is adjusting my business around her. So any schedule I have will be a schedule around her lifestyle. And I'll come back to like what I did in earlier years, because I think, there's going to be people watching this who have varying degrees of kids or not kids and ages, and, younger to older. What I do currently is I like my sleep. And I'll start in the morning. So my schedule starts my day starts at about 8. I'll wake up around 7:30 or 8. I'll get my daughter up. We'll get ready and go to school. I'll usually have a chat with a couple of moms after we do drop off, and I'll come back home, grab a coffee first, come back home. My husband also works from home, and I'll grab a coffee for both of us, or I'll come home and make one. I'm starting to come home and make one, save us a little bit of money. And then I will usually get to work, and I usually get a few hours of productivity before I want lunch and a little relaxation, and then go pick my daughter up. So I'm getting in maybe from 10 a.m. to 1 or 2 p.m. Sometimes I'm eating around 2 p.m. And sometimes I'll have breakfast. Don't model my eating habits because they're not amazing, but sometimes I don't eat too much until 2. If I got my coffee, that kind of sustains me. And like I said, not the model for eating habits, not necessarily the model for a work at home mom schedule either. So, but this is the reality of mine. And it's the reality of someone who isn't, I guess, A-type is what you might call me. Like, if this were my mother's business, she would have everything listed out, checking off, crossing off her to-do list. She'd have a schedule probably of what time she's doing what thing. That's a thing that a lot of people are teaching you. But how I work is I don't just come in and like randomly do things. I do have plans that, I teach mind map. I have a course called Mind Map Everything. So in Mind Map Everything, I teach how I have this mind map that kind of tells me what I'm doing in my business. And then I have that onto a calendar, and those are the things I follow and I also have a daily habit of sending regular, consistent emails. I have an email marketing business essentially. So every day I'm sending emails that tell people about my offers or give them value in other ways, such as something like this video where I'll send it out to my list and let them know how I schedule my day. So as I'm just working through projects. So one of the first things I'm going to do is send an email to my list. And I will backtrack on that and say I often try to clear out my inbox. And I know people say don't do that, but my inbox is pretty focused. So I'll tend to look through that to see if there's anything that needs my immediate attention. And I don't give my attention to things that, are kind of like, they're not needing my immediate attention, I guess. I'm not chatting with friends in that inbox in that morning time. So what I'm doing is just trying to kind of clear that out, because I do also use my inbox as almost like a to-do list. If there's something in there, it usually needs to get done, or I'm clearing it out of the inbox. And so I do like to try to keep that down as much. So I'll just like click through all the things I'm not even going to open, delete those, quickly open anything I know I can get through quickly, and then I'll do that. People tell you not to do that. I do. I don't know what to tell you. Like I probably could be more organized and leave that till later, but I do it that way. So then I go ahead and I do my daily marketing email. After my daily marketing email, I'll get emails out to customers. So if I have a course, I do coaching programs where we have to meet. I'll make sure that Zoom link is out there in an email. And so I'll work through that. And then after that, there will be things like if I need to create a sales page, if I need to, upload videos for my courses, any of that kind of work, that gets done after the initial emails. That work takes me, like I said, from 10 to 1 or 2. If I need to, I'll work till 3. And sometimes I do make my lunch, it's, around noon, and that gives me a full day. So if I need the full day, like from 10 till 3, that's like 5 hours, I'll do that. So, and then I'll go at 3 to get my daughter, and she'll come home, and sometimes she likes to play on the Xbox with her friends. So if she's doing that, I might get a little bit more work in, then we'll do dinner. And then after dinner, it'll probably be bath time. We'll play around a bit. Bath time, then bedtime. After bedtime, it's time with my husband. And then we're getting close to about midnight. And so at midnight, I'll go to bed. I'll usually get up around 7:30 or 8, and then I'll do it again. On weekends, it's kind of like hit and miss. Like sometimes my daughter has sleepovers. Sometimes we're busy all weekend. I do fit in work here and there whenever I can. And I have been thinking about, putting in more boundaries around that, like not working on weekends. But I do love what I do. So I do want to try to like get in some more hobbies and like kind of work in other interests. I think that's really valuable for myself, for my mental health, for taking a break back from the business, which will be helpful for the business as well. But overall, that's kind of my schedule. And so it gives me a few hours a day to work, and I'm completely okay with that. I don't mind that growth. That's gradual. I'm very focused. I know how to be productive. I actually can hyper focus as well. So if I've got a deadline and I've got or if I just come up with a really good idea, I can whip out some stuff really fast because I just know what to do. And that takes practice. It takes time. You can do that too. You just got to get practiced on a certain skill set and just kind of get through it. And when you really have it clear in your head, that's when I find it just kind of clicks and I can hyper focus in and get some good amount of things done. So in general, I set myself deadlines that I know I can meet, and I show up for those things. I also don't load myself up with extra work. So for example, I have a webinar I'm doing on a shopping cart called Thrive Cart. That's next week. So I haven't overpromised for that, and I will over deliver as much as I possibly can. But if things come up, as a mom, things can get busy, people can get sick. So I don't overpromise. I'm going to show up and deliver training on Thrive Cart Kickstart next week. But whether or not I add a workbook to it, work on really awesome templates that I can add. Like those are things I do intend to add, but I haven't given exact dates and deadlines. So that allows me flexibility. So always think about, what you've promised and deliver on your promises. Always, be really kind to people, all these good things about your business you can do, and that will help you. But the schedule itself, that's kind of what it looks like. And if we look back, because I did mention I would look at other stages, like I don't have the experience of the stage without kids at this point, because I did start my business when my son was 4 months old. Back then I was lucky to have built-in babysitters with my parents, but with my daughter, we didn't really have any babysitters. And so when she was really, really young, I really heavily relied on, content that was created by other people. So I used PLR in the first year of my daughter's life. I was working in the very first stages. I was working maybe 30 minutes a week. So there was hardly any schedule. It was just around whatever time I could get and working very sporadically. But at that time I had 2 VAs, and I had planned up, because I had a business running already, I planned up to the birth. I had 2 VAs, and they were taking content written by great writers from Coach Glue. and I bought the content from Coach Glue and I looked it over, said the changes, that needed to be made to it to make it all my own, and then had my VA team of 2 work on that, get it on the site for my membership who were paying me monthly. So I was really, I won't say lucky, I planned and strategically created that, but I was able to run a business while I had almost no time. That's not a really sustainable business model, but it took me through about the first year. And then when my daughter was 1, I put her in daycare for a day. And I found that a full like 8 to 9 hours at a time, once a week. So when she was 1 year old, she was in daycare once a week, 1 day a week. And that was amazing at that time, going from almost no time to like 9 hours a week. And then I put her in when she was 2, I put her in 2 days. When she was 3, I put her in 3 days. And I actually found that having her in daycare for 3 days where I could leave, she could be there for 8 hours was just as effective as my daughter being in school for 5 days a week, because like it's really only 5 or 6 hours. So it really is interesting. Like my current 5 days a week, but I don't have to pay for because she's in public school. I get about as much work done as if I had her in 3 days of daycare before she went to school. So in those cases, my schedule obviously went around that schedule. When she was 2, it was 2 days. When she was 3, it was 3 days. If that's something you can't do, I definitely do, things that you can fit in mornings, early mornings, late nights, nap times, things like that. And I think that it may work well for you. I don't know, you have to test it, but it may work well for you to not try to pressure yourself to get XYZs done, but have project-based schedules where you're moving forward in your business on a project and do as much of you can in the time you have. So if it's 10 minutes, work on that project for 10 minutes, and the examples I gave were like setting up a webinar, creating a course, but whatever your business is, whatever it is, what can you do to move that dial, move a project forward in that time you have? So that is the summary of my work at home mom schedule. I hope that's helpful to you. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear your schedules. Like, how do you work? What works for you? And you can post those in the comments below. If you're on YouTube, if you're not, you should probably be directed to YouTube if I've embedded this somewhere, but if there's a space to put comments, send me your comments and I'd love to hear how you work, what your schedule is, what works for you. And we'll talk soon. Bye. So I had to get back on video because I completely forgot to tell you about my schedule for holidays and summer. So we have Christmas holidays. We're currently in March break, and then summer, 2 full months of not having that schedule because I'm not dropping my daughter off at school. Makes it a lot harder. And I don't like not having routine for the whole 2 months of the summer. But my schedule changes then where I'm trying to do that thing that I suggested you do if you can't do daycare and you have a kid at home. So it's just like fitting things in whenever I can. So in the summer, weekends are definitely not out of bounds for me to do work because like evenings or early mornings, I can do early mornings any day, not just weekends. But then sometimes my husband, I'll get him to take my daughter and then I can work for a day. Or another thing I definitely work as much as I can to do is to free up my projects or run projects in the summer that don't take up my time on webinars and things like that. So I don't do, live trainings or webinars as much at all in the summer. The only one I'll do like this year is for my membership. So that's like once a month I'll do a call, but otherwise I'll just kind of clear that schedule so that we can enjoy the summer together. And so at that point, it's like kind of working on more of a maintenance mode or a holiday mode or I'll just, get my daughter to entertain herself while I work an hour or two here or there. It just depends on the stage of business I'm in. And I've been in various stages even throughout the last few years, even though I've been running businesses online for 20 years. I relaunched my business last year. So there's like last summer, I had to do work. I couldn't just kind of put it in maintenance mode. But by the time this summer hits, my monthly income has been growing month after month. So it may be okay where I just kind of coast for the summer. And it just really depends. Is that the way I want to hit into September? Am I okay with kind of ramping up in September? Do I want to do a bit more to kind of keep things moving? Because it's a ball that keeps rolling. The more you keep it rolling or at least moving, the easier it is to continue that movement, to ramp it up, when you're ready. So that would be my advice for all of those other times. There's it basically kind of choose your path of, putting it in maintenance mode or vacation mode where you only do the things that you are essential to your business, or do things that you can do to automate so that you can kind of take more of a break, or work in like that work wherever you can. Be really productive, be really focused, be really smart with your work, and you can absolutely work around times, get up early or work late. Make sure you get your sleep, make sure you get your water, take care of yourself and all of that good stuff. But that's the adapted schedule for when it's not like school days. So I just wanted to make sure I added that because that's an important part of a work at home mom schedule when our kids are actually home. And of course I had to do this and adapt during the pandemic when she was home a lot more. My son was still home at that time. So that was a very interesting time. So you just do what you can, right? Just get that work in when you can. And the project-based business will probably help you a lot with that because you're not going to constantly schedule stuff and then, baby's crying or your toddler needs you and then you can't get that thing you scheduled. It's going to get really frustrating. So if you think of moving forward on the project, that's not really frustrating. It's just like, okay, when I have a moment, I'll move forward on the project. All right, hopefully that's helpful. Bye for now.